What is the future of the National Association of Consumer Bankruptcy Attorneys? Here with President-elect Jenny Doling. Jenny, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Great. Good to have you. Obviously, NACBA is very important to the debtor bar, and congratulations on being the president-elect coming up in 2027.
Yep. I'm excited. I'm very honored to be elected and to take on this role. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the wave of filings and the new things that we have going.
You bring a great energy. You've been around NACBA for obviously,
20,
decades, right?
23 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, 23 years. And you've just moved up the ladder. Your DNA's in NACBA, like a lot of the people on the debtor bar who've just poured their heart into this organization. So let's talk about where you see it going. Like what we're having this conversation 3 years from now, 4 years from now. What does NACBA look like and how can we support?
My vision for NACBA, I think, is shared by our entire board, our entire membership, and that is to elevate the practice of law for consumer debtor attorneys. Give them a community that feels supportive of their practice, of their mission legislatively. Give them support when they want to appeal. Appeals aren't cheap, and our clients are debtors. They don't have the money for that. So we've got a supportive system around appellate law. Great minds, around the country that write briefs. You don't have access to that normally. So being a member of NACBA is extremely valuable. You also don't know what you don't know, right? So this is a huge, we call it the hive, all our hive minds, and we get together and we're very supportive of other attorneys when they have a question. If you're new, don't ever be shy about asking a question. There's tons of people that will answer the question, give you samples, give you some research. We want to elevate everybody. So I think for the vision and the future of NACBA is really bringing in all the newbies. There's plenty of work to go around, and we want them to come in. If you think about it, with the low turn in filings, when filings dropped off and things were going great, you had this whole gap of law schools that no longer taught bankruptcy. So we have an entire generation of bankruptcy attorneys missing. We have an entire generation of bankruptcy attorneys who are aging out and retiring. This is the area of law to be, and that's what we want people to see. It is a great complementary area of law to other practice areas. Bankruptcy has probably the highest crossover law factor than any other area of law. In bankruptcy, you have tax issues, you have estate planning issues, you have probate issues, you have family law issues, you have intellectual property issues. You now have AI law, infiltrating what we do. So the way it crosses over, it can be a very complementary area of practice. And I enjoy it. I think it's one of the only areas of law where your clients are happy when you are done with them because you have relieved their stress.
The debtor bar in general are just a bunch of good people. They care about their clients. It's not adversarial. And the transactional side of it makes it easy because you're not in like constant conflict. It's like, okay, I'm filling out the form. Do you qualify? Here you go. Boom, boom, boom. But there's also strategy, right?
Yeah.
Strategy of understanding the law, understanding, which we're going to talk in other videos about crossover, tax, getting rid of tax lanes, et cetera, which you bring the best of both worlds. You bring strategy along with like this transactional nature where you can like produce a lot of value for clients and all at the same time.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. That's one of my favorite things. I was just telling a client today, I had a potential client today, and I said the most favorite part of my job is strategizing. How can I get you in the lowest Chapter 13 plan payment? What can I do that's going to save you the most money, put you in the best position possible when this is done? And then they're off and running. They're rebuilding their credit, and they remember you, and they refer business to you.
Absolutely. It's that's what NACBA is there for, right? For all these new people coming in, you have a huge resource that you can ask questions on the listserv. You can go to these trainings at very, very reduced prices, right? Like It's just all this education that is just there for you because the questions are being asked. And it's a great resource.
I think one of the things people getting into bankruptcy don't realize, they'll join a local bankruptcy bar and they'll go to some local things and, see what's going on with their judge. 100% you have to do that. You have to know what's going on locally. But if you are not involved in a national organization, you are missing out on the opportunity to see what are the greatest, newest arguments. What are the trustees doing in Texas? Because if it's something that's getting a lot of traction there, it's going to spread. All of the trustees go to their conferences and they share that information. You want to get ahead of that stuff. You are not going to know about that if you are only showing up locally. That's one thing. Another thing about showing up only locally is you are missing out on legislative opportunities. When we want to make a change in the law, when the 2005 BAP-CIPA law went into effect, when that big thing happened, were you going to learn about that law locally? No, you really needed to go to the people who actually were part of that, and teach it and see how it's going to affect your practice. The third thing, also on the legislative side, is NACBA is very supportive in helping states do legislation on exemptions and correct consumer protection laws on the state level. I never thought that legislation was anything I was interested in until I got involved with NACBA and started doing Hill Day on DC. And it's fascinating how all of that works, and that the way I look at it is, little old me got to be involved and testify before the California State Senate, before the California State Assembly, and change the homestead exemption that affects every single homeowner in California. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would I have got that opportunity, otherwise? So I think
huge
understanding,
impact.
I want people to understand there's a place for having local representation, but you also need your foot in the door with a national representation like NACBA.
You're raising the debtor bar overall. We're educating new debtors, bringing new people in. What else is, what else? Tell us more about the future of NACBA. What else do you see?
Yeah, so I think NACBA's vision is to increase our education, and far and wide. We're talking about adding this AI Advantage membership to NACBA. We are way ahead of any other bankruptcy forum. We're ahead of the state bars on this. This area of law is moving. The use of AI is moving so quickly. The area of law is a little slower. And I think we want to have a seat at that table as well, and how it can be used. Ed Boltz, past president of NACBA, raised an issue recently that was very interesting. Are people that are trying to use AI to do their own filings is AI a BPP, a bankruptcy petition preparer? Because BPP under the law is not a person. It can be a person or it can be a corporation. So that's evolving. And I think trying to save debtors from representing themselves is going to be really, really hard in this AI movement. And it's important that we educate them as well, and we get out there ahead of this, because I can't fix some cases.
That's the problem. Some
cases are unfixable. And I'll tell you, the ones that might have a chance, it's going to cost you 5 times what it would have had me to do the case in the first place.
Yeah, that's a whole nother education conversation that we got to have.
It really is.
Because we're seeing it happen. I mean, pro se filings are going through the roof, and people think, oh, it's super easy. I can just talk into ChatGPT about it. I mean, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, well, they think it's about filling out forms. That's the last thing about bankruptcy. Bankruptcy, the forms are the end result of all the legal work you do. It's kind of like envision an iceberg. You got the tip of the iceberg up here, and that's the forms. All the work is under here, under the water. And that's where the danger is.
As someone who knows you well, your energy that you bring to NACBA is just infectious. And it's a joy. And I remember, like, one of my early NACBAs, you came around and you thanked me as a vendor for being there. You're like, thank you for being there. And it was just like, wow, I mean, I felt it, I got it. And when I heard in Boston that you were going to be the new president, I was just like very excited. And I know I speak for a lot of people about that.
Thank you.
You bring so much value.
I am so energized by the practice of law right now. With AI and, coming up through NACBA, And I value this organization. I hope my energy comes through. I am so genuine about it. I love our vendors. You get to know them, you get to be friends with them. You don't have that kind of camaraderie.
It's different.
And
There's
yeah, it's
something different
very
about it.
different. It's
Yeah.
very special. We kind of call it the magic in the hallway. You're meeting people and you're learning about them. And I'm constantly, there's newbies. Hey, let me introduce you to this person. I want people who come to our conferences to feel welcomed, to feel seen, to feel heard, to have input, to feel the energy. When I first went to my first conference, 2004, I joined NACBA in 2004, went to my first conference. I came back going, these are my people,
Yeah.
my peeps,
Yeah.
like you get to a pain point where you're stressed out and you're feeling a little burned out. And then you go to the conference and you get re-energized. You're like, I've got new stuff to, take back. I've got new strategies. I've got new forms. I've got new
No doubt.
samples. And you're off and running again. And
Do the
then
debtor attorneys come back on fire and their paralegals are rolling their eyes? They're like, okay,
Yeah.
here they come back.
Yeah, but the great thing now is NACBA has the paralegal membership
There you go.
and we are growing that and developing it. And I will tell you, my guys are super excited. They're monitoring the paralegal listserv and they come to me, hey, there was a question on here. What does this mean?
That's great. So
You're
that's another thing.
trying to-
If you're a
Yeah.
debtor attorney, have your paralegals, join their classification and they're on their paralegal listserv. They don't have to go to you.
Right.
They can go to their paralegal listserv. Jenny, let's talk about the people who, love NACBA, right? They love NACBA. They're members of NACBA. They don't always go to the conferences, but they love NACBA and it's proudly represented on their website, but they haven't gotten involved yet. I have a lot of attorneys like that. And I've asked them, why aren't you involved? There's just this I don't know. How do you do it? And it's not that they wouldn't, their heart is to get involved.
Yeah.
So how would you, if speaking to them, I have 6 or 8 of them in mind right now who are young debtor attorneys that want to get involved, want to contribute. What would you say to them?
Watch out for January. That's what I will say. We are working on that. We are actually doing a strategic planning meeting for 2027 this August. And we have a whole lineup worked out. One of my big things is to bring in more people. There's been a core group of NACBA members that have served on the board. You can't stretch them too thinly. We have a lot of great talent out there that we need to bring in, like you're talking about. Yeah. One of our things is we're going to expand subcommittees. So we want to bring in people nationwide that can come into these subcommittees and use that as a stepping stone to working their way up to being on the board, to being on a legislative committee, to being on NACBA, which is NACBA's sister organization that handles appeals. Yeah. There is so much that NACBA can do to advance your career. I mean, me and the Rules Committee, I never would have dreamed. I was appointed by Chief Justice Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court.
Congratulations.
To serve on the Rules Committee. That was never on my radar.
The only bankruptcy attorney nationwide.
The only consumer debtor bankruptcy attorney on that panel or on that committee. We have a seat at the table because NACBA pushed for that. And that is so important. And I feel there are other committees and there are other things out there that we need to populate with more NACBA members. Adding that to your resume is a awesome resume builder. It is something that your clients go, wow, I read your CV. And let me say this tip. You should send your CV to every single client. Every single one. When they call and set up a consultation, we send our client questionnaire and then my staff sends my CV. Because I want them, I've got my little picture on the bottom of it. Not that I want my picture on there, but because it brings that, they relate to you better.
Hey, you're building trust, credibility. Right. It's exactly in a market where, the signs of the 995 bankruptcies do not build trust.
No.
Right. So you want to do something different. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a mill. And there's a lot of mistakes that happen in mills because you're not dealing with the lawyer. You are dealing with legal assistants. And I am not trashing legal assistants or paralegals, but all they're doing is paper pushing and data entry. Yeah. Who is doing the legal work? Who is strategizing your case? Yeah. They're telling you, I can't protect that $10,000 in your bank account. You're going to have to give it to the trustee. Whereas a lawyer is going to say, hey, here's some things we can do so you can hang on to that money legally.
Yeah.
And you don't have to give it up, and we can still get a discharge for you.
Yeah.
Those are things that you learn by, conversing with other bankruptcy attorneys, going to NACBA's webinars. The other thing I really want to point out that's special about NACBA, we are only a consumer debtor bankruptcy group. I think that's key because there are many that are both, represent creditors, represent debtors, represent or have debtor members and creditor members. They have trustee members. That's a different playing field because is everybody going to give away their secrets at those conferences? No. They're going to limit the information because you're their competition. You are directly opposite of them. You're their adversary, really. So you don't get that in NACBA. And I think that's imperative for people to understand the difference.
Yeah. Jenny, thanks for your leadership. Looking forward to 2027 and beyond. And we'll take it from there.
I'm excited.